bring in our good buddy, Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback, host of the Sean Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Let me start with something that was just brought up again by a listener. Do you think Lamar Jackson's contract status has anything to do with his availability against the Bengals this weekend?
I would hope not, Dan, because I'd go back to the preseason when he could have said, I'm not showing up like we've seen guys do in the past and not play the regular season. Maybe it's sitting on the point where the frustration started to build and a teammate of his and Roquan Smith got paid. Yeah. Maybe it all the cumulative effect, Dan. But I'd like to think, and I'm going to give Lamar more credit than that, to think that if considering legacy and on the line that he and his will replace his people don't talk about, but him and thinking about it, that with a chance to do something he hasn't done and get to a Super Bowl, I think he'd like to do it. I'm in the back of his mind. You don't want to get hurt, but I think he would have done it at the beginning, not the end. I think that he's probably just not fit and ready to play.
You, of course, covered the Texans. They lost the number one pick, and we were wondering in the moment if you get the touchdown. Now it's a 4th and 20, and right, you're going to go for a 2-point conversion. You're going to lose the number one overall pick. Now, Lovie Smith is trying to save his job, and Davis Mills is trying to save his job as the starting quarterback. I understand all those things, but if you're management, could you have somehow got a message down to say, let's run an elaborate 2-point conversion that we know might not succeed, so we can get the number one pick there?
Well, I'd have sprinted out of the press box as a general manager, and I'd have knocked his ass out before he made the play call. That's what I'd have done. Dan, is such thing as a crappy win? That was it. Now,
that's a bad win. That's a bad win. Bad win.
No doubt about it. Because number one is Lovie Smith wasn't saving his job. I guarantee you they knew going into that he wasn't coming back, because they didn't just wake up after the game and say, I think we'll fire him. They knew going in that no matter what, even if they'd have won by 40, Dan, he wasn't going to keep this job. Yeah. So, I would have said, first off, Davis Mills, we want you to, I know we want to showcase you, but I think we're going to run the inside zone read with Jeff Driscoll the whole game. That's how you control it. Because, Dan, players and coaches are like, even if you know you're not going to get fired you're like, screw that. I'm going to leave it all on the table. And so are the players. Davis Mills doesn't want you drafted Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. So, of course, they're going to play it. Now, I got to tell you, it sure as heck also looked like the Colts. I mean, when you jump up and the ball goes through your hands and you're going like that and completely missing, it's like, come on, get a stop on 2 4th downs. But, I would have created it in the week leading up to it. I would have all of a sudden about 8 players have hammy problems. They wouldn't have played. I wouldn't have let it happen, Dan, because it sure sounds a lot better to control the draft as the 1 pick, especially a team that needs it, than the 2 pick, regardless of who you want to take.
Are the Texans attractive enough for Sean Payton to strongly consider taking that job if offered?
Well, you heard Nick Caserio say, if there's a coach that wants the job or doesn't like what I'm doing, I'll step aside. Sure you will. No, you won't. The talk of Sean wanting to bring in like a Jeff Ireland, a guy he can stand shoulder to shoulder with. Now, sometimes you may say that, then all of a sudden a guy grabs you and says, I'm the guy for you, and the head coach and the GM, which I believe, Dan, both have to be alphas, but take ego and pride aside. And even if you disagree on certain things, you got to be able to discuss it and talk it out. That hasn't been the case here. They've hired coaches that they expected to be bridge coaches to this situation. Hell, if you're Nick Caserio, hire a guy for selfish reasons to save your job. Attractive enough, Dan, great, plenty of room in the salary cap, all these assets. Texas is a great place to coach football. The problem is the trust and the dysfunction. Does Sean Payton believe that even he can fix the dysfunction that's gone on in this building? If he had his own guy, he probably would. For him, probably not, Dan, because I think he wants his own guy. But it is an attractive job if you can sift through the trust and dysfunction, which is a big, big sift through here in Houston.
If you're the Bears GM, are you trading Justin Fields and taking Bryce Young?
I'm not. I've seen it because I'm not sure 5 years from now, as much as I love Bryce Young, and I think he's got that it factor that we can't teach. It's just there. And it's not just potential, Dan. I've seen production. We talk about potential. Potential gets coaches fired. Production and potential together lead you to places like Trevor Lawrence has done and Herbert and Burrow. I think Bryce Young's got that. I'm not big on the measurables. I think they're overrated. Can the guy win for me and elevate everybody in the building and maximize? I think Bryce Young can. But if I can continue to see growth with Justin Fields, if I was Chicago, I would not trade that pick. I would not trade Justin Fields. Now, if I'm listening to every call. If you're going to make me 3 first-round pick offers, then I'd probably do it because I don't think I'm going to lose much. I've seen enough of Justin Fields to tell me there is growth there and potential, and I'm not sure in 5 years who's going to be better, Fields or Bryce Young. He's got to improve as a passer, but with all the things that you need, I think there's still room to get Justin Fields to grow. But I'm going to answer the bat phone to every call you make. But my priority is not to trade Justin Fields for a college quarterback just yet.
If I got a good offer for Justin Fields, then I would trade him. Because if I think Bryce Young and Justin Fields are similar, I can reset the quarterback clock with Bryce Young. I know
100%.
And I
didn't mean to interrupt you. Dan.
Yeah, but Justin Fields that's not sustainable. It's great to watch. It's not sustainable. And we've watched this down through history. Bryce Young can be more sustainable, and I can reset the clock. Maybe I get a first round and a third round pick for Justin Fields. Something, Dan, maybe.
No, if the offer is like that, where it is, I'm gaining assets first round. If you give me like what they got for Trey Lance, let's just say, for instance, what the 49ers gave up, Dan, in the draft to get Trey Lance or something in that, if you were to get that, there's no doubt, because you're exactly right. Sustainability, we've seen it. It looks good. But I can tell you this, we don't win Super Bowls by starting a guy who can extend the pocket and then once in a while beat you from inside it. We win Super Bowls from the hula hoop in the pocket. And then if we can extend the play and go great. Championship quarterbacks got to beat you throwing on time with accuracy and throwing people open. So if you make me an offer I can't refuse, I'm with you. Because do I believe Bryce Young can walk into the Chicago Bears and make them better overnight? I don't know about 7 games better, but you're damn right I do. So, but it has to be an offer that I won't let out of the building because I can reset. And I think Bryce Young right now is a far better guy inside the tackles than Justin Fields, but it better be an offer I can't refuse.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL and USC quarterback, host of the Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Tom Brady to the Dolphins. Mike Florio floated that. Same source who told him when Tom was going to go there with Sean Payton, and then you had the Brian Flores lawsuit. Now he's bringing it back up again. You could keep 2 on the roster. Tom comes in, and he also floated the idea of Sean Payton going to the Dolphins, which would mean Mike McDaniel would be a one and done, having taken this team to the playoffs.
Right.
The likelihood that Tom Brady would go to the Dolphins is what, in your opinion?
I think higher than we think. I think you'd throw the Raiders into it because of Josh McDaniels. I think the likelihood that Tom Brady plays again and maybe somewhere else is more likely that than he retires, Dan. Even all that, $375 million that's waiting on him. But I got to tell you, they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. And this dude in January doesn't lease it or rent it. He owns it. They're going to win on Monday. They're going to win on Monday night. Now, they're getting healthier. Listen, I know the record says they haven't been good, but think about the NFC quarterbacks. If I took every NFC quarterback and stuck every one of them in Philadelphia, who do you trust the most in January, Dan? Tom Brady. So will Tom walk from Tampa? Maybe. But can I see in Miami him going to Miami, which is obviously the talk about him wanting to go.
But, Sean, I trust Brady in January. I don't trust this team in January.
That's my – I trust him more than I trust the way the Dallas Cowboys are up and down like the Dow Jones and Dak throwing the ball to the other team because they're going to cut it loose defensively. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl with the way they've played. I said if you took all the NFC quarterbacks – now the gauntlet of the AFC is brutal, friggin' brutal. But you took them all those quarterbacks in the NFC and said, you have the same roster, San Francisco's roster, Philly's roster, Dallas's roster. Who do you trust the most? You're taking 12 in Tampa. You just are on any of those rosters. Now, I trust Philly's team more. I trust the 49ers team more. But, Dan, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about a 45-year-old who in January still can make enough plays. The question is, can they keep him upright and can he play well? If Dak turns it over a couple times, Tampa's winning at home. Now, as far as his future, I can see Tom playing in another uniform wearing number 12. Sean Payton, what's not to love about that? It'd be weird to watch Mike McDaniel leave after one season and get into the playoffs. But if you can get Brady, no offense to Tua, you're a better football team with Tom Brady and Sean Payton than you are with Tua and Sean Payton. There's no question about it.
I don't know what the Rams are doing, because if I'm running the Rams, I say to Sean McVay, come on in today. And you're not going to leave the building until you make a decision. Because I have coaches who are now free to leave. Like, I have to run a team. I'm not running a, Sean, what do you want to do with your life? I'm running a football team. Why aren't the Rams saying to Sean McVay, you can't hold us hostage. We want you back. Or you want to take a year off, take the year off. You know, we'll bring in somebody on an interim basis. But you can't be doing this. You did it last year to us. We gave you a new contract here. Like, this can't be you can't be the Aaron Rodgers of quarterbacks where you're going, I don't know. Give me a little bit of time. I got to ask Sean McVay to give me a damn answer right now. And that's it. And allow us to move on.
Dan, a couple things and here's the thing. All this player empowerment that I'm a little bit over. You guys get to decide what they want, where they want to trade to. I'm not buying the coach empowerment in this. Now, I love Sean McVay. I think he's a hell of a coach. But guess what? We're all replaceable. And if he comes in and still hems and haws, Dan, to your point, guess what? I'll make the decision for him. I will. Because there's guys out there, and I know the broadcast saying, and he's in his 30s, and he's a hot commodity, and he's a great coach. But didn't Les Snead and the ownership give up every asset on the planet to get Sean Payton what he wanted, and he won a Super Bowl with it?
Yeah,
I mean, Sean McVay. Yes, yeah. Sean McVay. To get him what he wanted and get a Super Bowl. So now that we robbed Peter, we got to pay Paul. I need a decision, and I need it immediately, because if he's not all in, Dan, I can tell you this, they're not going to be back in the playoffs. They're begging for assets now anyway, because some of their guys are getting older. Some of their players are facing that decision. And Matt Stafford's coming off an injury. So you're damn right. We gave you what you wanted. Now we're asking for a meeting, and the doors are locked until you give us a yes or no. And if it's a kind of, I'll help make the decision for you. As much as I like Sean McVay, you don't get to hold my franchise hostage. We're struggling enough this year to find enough players and assets to build for a future. We got our ring. That doesn't mean you get to hold us hostage. I 100% agree with you.
All right, Paulie, the rookie quarterback playoff quiz. We'll play that with Sean.
Okay. Recently, a lot of quarterbacks in their rookie year made the playoffs. Mac Jones last year. But there have been 28 quarterbacks since 1980 to start a playoff game as a rookie. So I'm going to go decade by decade and just give you a couple notes. A couple guys have won 2 playoff games as rookies. And if you can guess that, that'd be very tough. Give me an 80s quarterback who started as a rookie in the playoffs.
Did Marino's team make the playoffs as a rookie? I know his second year they went to the Super Bowl.
Correct, Sean. Dan Marino.
Okay.
1983.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll give you a hint. That's one that's hard to get. Dieter Brock of the Rams.
Oh.
Came from the CFL, Sean. Your kind of guy. He started 2 games for the Rams in the 85-86 playoffs.
Dieter Brock, number 5? Does that sound right?
Yes. And when you CFLers come to the NFL, you throw out all the records, okay?
That's a Grey Cup legend talking there.
Okay, so Dieter Brock, Dan Marino.
One more from the 80s. He was just fired for betting on a game.
Just fired for betting on a game. Oh, it was
Bernie Kosar.
Yeah, Bernardo Kosar. Yeah. Greatest mechanics of all time.
Bernie Kosar's correct.
Bernie was a guy who'd be here, and he'd come here, and he'd say, what do you do? Oh, great throw,
He was doing the no-look pass before Mahomes was.
Dan, remember how I could do Dan Marino's cadence?
Yeah.
Let me show you one day when we're in live or maybe at the Super Bowl. I can give you Bernie Kosar better than old number 20 can give you himself. Or was he 20 and Bernie, 20, 19 in the pro, 20 in college.
Give the audience a little bit of your Dan Marino at the line of scrimmage.
Well, you know how, Dan, we hear all the sound now. 119 and Aaron Rodgers cadence. Well, Marino was very simple. He was well ahead of it before the times. He'd be like, Mike is right, Mike right. And he'd be licking his fingers about 14 times while he was saying it. Mike right, and he'd pop back in the gun, and he'd say, Mike's 55. Down, set. And we're on 3. 180. one. He said, that. And it's like, that. Dan, you said 3. Yeah, just so what you do, you'd snap it on the first one to get to the that. Dan, what are you saying? And it was never hut. That. Yeah. My guy, and Danny'd be all red-faced, and he'd drop back and couldn't move 3 inches, and he'd throw for 600 yards on you.
I know.
So,
all right,
all-timer.
Do we have the 90s now?
The 90s, Dan. I'll give you Jim Everett also started as a rookie for the Rams in the 80s. In the 90s, only one quarterback as a rookie started in the playoffs. It was for the Raiders in 1991. That's how big of a hint I can give you.
It couldn't have been Jay Bird Schrader because he came out a lot earlier than that.
Yeah. The hint
91. Can you give me the college?
Your college.
My college. Vince Evans.
Todd Marinovich.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, here I am saying Vince Evans, who's older than me, and I got him started as a rookie in the 90s. But Vince did play for Marinovich, that's right, who came out as a true sophomore, I think, to play for the Raiders, right? I mean, remember that? And
that's right.
Because that was the time when you didn't have to be on campus 3 years. That's exactly right.
What else do we have, Paul?
Let's get to the 90s.
No, that was the 90s.
Okay, I'm sorry, the 2000s.
Okay.
One from Tampa, one from Pittsburgh, one for Atlanta, and one for Baltimore. And a couple guys, multiple starts as rookies.
Gosh, dang. Who did from Cal for Baltimore?
Bowler?
Kyle Bowler.
Nope. Joe Flacco as a rookie in 09 started 3 playoff games.
Yeah, Seton.
Wow.
Ben Roethlisberger?
That's correct. 2 playoff games.
Okay, give me the other teams.
Atlanta, 2009.
Atlanta, 2009.
Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan's correct. And this
that had to be him considering the length of his career. Good call.
Tampa in 2000, scrambling quarterback, I think out of Tulane.
Sean King.
Sean King is correct.
Ooh.
Started 2 playoff games, got a win for Tampa.
Nice.
Okay, now in the 2000s, there's been a bunch, but here's the one.
Is this the 2010s?
Yeah, 2010s.
Okay. All right.
This quarterback in his rookie year started 3 playoff games, the most of anybody, and won 2 of them. And he's also from USC.
Well, let's see. Carson Palmer.
2010.
The Sanchez?
Oh, okay.
The Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez. They went to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez.
With Rex Ryan as their coach, and I believe they led the league in rushing. And wasn't Marty Schottenheimer's son
That's right.
the offensive coordinator on those teams?
The Sean Green years. Mark Sanchez.
there you
playoff
go.
games.
All right.
Listen, like I when in doubt, throw out the record when USC quarterbacks come to the playoffs. Except,
else?
of course, mine.
Yeah.
Does anyone want another shot at a random one? Here's some random ones for the past 10 years.
Right.
Connor Cook started for the Raiders in a playoff game.
Okay.
Against the Texans when Derek Carr was having an MVP season, and he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean if he was standing in a boat that day.
TJ Yates.
Oh, that's who I was going to go with.
A couple playoff starts.
TJ Yates.
And then Andrew Luck as a rookie.
What's wrong with you?
I wasn't that young.
Paulie does his Andrew Luck impersonation.
Sean Salisbury, loved him at USC, big gunslinger. Loved him in Canada, loved Canadian arts.
He did that to Andrew Luck. I said, you got to do your impersonation of Andrew Luck.
I got my new flip phone. It's a the Nokia. The Nokia. It's a 3 series.
That's pretty good.
The laugh at the end is so priceless. That's him.
Salisbury. It's a steak. It's not a person. It's a fine steak.
Any other? Is that it? We're done with the
Mac
rookie?
Jones, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson Jr. III, and Robert Griffin III.
Robert Griffith Jr. III.
Dude, when Bob Griffin was a rookie, he was off the charts now.
Yeah, he could run.
Off the
He
charts.
could go
Yes,
a little
could.
bit. He could go a little bit. All right, we'll see you in Arizona.
Can't wait. Love you guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
buddy.
man.
That's Sean
All right.
Salisbury. Oh,